morning, good afternoon, good evening to some. I am humbled by that introduction, Dr. Dotto. But before I start my formal talks, I just want to publicly give my condolences to you and your family for the loss of your mother. I was in Bangladesh and met her, and I am just so honored to have done so. So I wanted to say that this morning. I've enjoyed the parts of the conference that I've heard so far, and I have myself on my timer, so I won't go over. And I'm going to speak a little bit with you about the new book that is coming out soon called Tech-Enabled Futures, Elevating Educations in Underserved Areas. I wanted to also give thanks and gratitude to Professor Dada and his team because the very first book that we initiated was published by his organization, The Future of Work and Entrepreneurship for the Underserved. Since then, we've done two publications, and they have been more academic. So the tone and the intent of this book is so to get it outside of the realms of the academics and to put it more into the hands of the masses, because we truly do believe that addressing the issue of poverty and the underserved is partially responsible to everyone. But if everyone is reading about it, seeing about it, hearing about it, we have less of an opportunity to get to them. So I am JoAnn Rolle, Dean of the School of Business at Medgar College City, University of New York, right there in Brooklyn. And I bring you greetings from the Medgar College family. I'm going to start because this is not your, as the previous presenter said, this is not your normal research literature review. This is talking about the book that I hope will be presented to the masses. So I'm going to begin with a poem that embodies the essence of the underserved, and it is in fact a poem by the great poet Langston Hughes, and it talks to the hopes, the passions, and the dreams of a people gone unrealized. And the title of the poem is A Dream Deferred. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over, like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? The poem launches the first chapter and the book, Tech-Enabled Futures, Elevating Education in Underserved Areas. We have long talked about elevating the poor and the underserved, yet after COVID, we found globally that more were among their ranks with fewer options, fewer alternatives, and diminished dreams. Is this sustainable, or as the poem ends, will it explode? I'll take a few minutes of my time reflecting with you the framework of the book as we explore several of the challenges we have faced in lifting from the bottom of the pyramid, as many of you know in that work. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, rightly identified the number one priority as ending poverty as an urgent global priority. Nearly 700 million people still subsist below the international poverty line worldwide, and over 1.3 billion lack access to electricity, clean water, healthcare, education, amenities that many of us who are on this conference and on this call take for granted. These numbers represent grave humanitarian crises, but even more importantly, they represent hundreds of millions of unfulfilled dreams, denied dignities, and wasted human potential. We all bear collective responsibility to address this moral outrage plaguing humanity in the 21st century. Poverty is complex, and of course, you know it's been with us forever. It's tenacious and multidimensional. Its roots run deep into historical, social, political, and economic factors that often perpetuate vicious cycles of marginalization. Conventional foreign aid approaches have had limited success in disrupting these cycles. Well-intentioned programs face challenges like corruption, lack of sustainability, and absence of local participation. Behind the stark statistics lie human stories of women determined to provide for their families, youth yearning for education, entrepreneurs starving for opportunity. Their resilience and resourcefulness in the face of adversity reveal an important truth. Poverty is not defined just by the lack of money or resources. It is characterized by the lack of access, lack of choice, and crushingly, more and more after COVID, the lack of hope. The task before us is admittedly monumental, because poverty has been with us for a long time. The social and economic and technological challenges are profoundly complex, and overcoming the inertia of entrenched inequality will not occur overnight. But neither are we starting from zero. If we dare to dream big, unlock human creativity, and reimagine possibility, the future rewards could be immeasurable, ending poverty, or at least moving poverty backwards, bridging divides, and birthing truly inclusive societies, which we have not had. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about the landscape of educational inequality. Educational inequality in underserved communities is a multifaceted issue exacerbated by limited resources and systemic inequalities. The lack of educational infrastructure is not a mere symptom, but a root cause of ongoing social and economic disparities. However, this narrative is not one of despair, it's one of resilience and determination. Education serves as a catalyst for community upliftment and is the foundation upon which brighter futures are constructed. The role of education in social mobility cannot be overstated. It is a cornerstone upon which communities can build a better future. And I'm a living example of this, and I'm just deviating from my notes. My great-grandmother was born in the islands, one of the Caribbean islands, and she was a business person, but she could not read or write. She believed in education. I am a first-generation college student, and I continue to be an educator because I know what education can do, not just for individuals, but for masses of people and communities. So let me go back to technology, and technology is a catalyst. The transformative power of technology in education is awe-inspiring and supported by a growing body of research, from interactive online platforms to immersive virtual reality experiences. Educational technology offers innovative solutions to age-old challenges. Along this journey, we will highlight current examples of successful stories that serve to hope and demonstrate that the impossible is indeed within reach. The integration of technology into education is not just a trend, but a necessity, offering scalable solutions that can adapt to diverse educational settings. So why did this book matter? And I mentioned earlier, before I got started, that much of the work that we do as academicians, we talk, read, and share with other academicians. But this book is intended to deliver the message to the masses. The book is designed to serve as a bridge between academic theory and practical application, a much needed connection in today's rapidly evolving educational landscape. It acknowledges the need for innovative ideas that transcend the ordinary and pledges to provide a global perspective, recognizing that local contexts are as diverse as they are vital. And so this is to get away from the one-size-fits-all that we often see. This solution will scale in other places. And this recognizes that, local environments are indeed unique and need to be addressed itself. Before examining the theory and strategies, we set the stage by outlining the scope and limitations of the exploration and clarifying who will benefit from the work. So this book aims to be a resource for policymakers, education, and social entrepreneurs, offering actionable insights backed by research. This is a new era of technology, and we're in the transition of a tech-enabled community, whether we like it or not. Technology is here, and it is being leveraged in many, many industries. There should be digital equity among a society where everyone has the opportunity to work, if they choose, and learn with advanced methods. And we know that is not the case. With some collaboration and compassion, there would be access for all communities in the digital world. But unfortunately, there's a substantial gap between communities and areas where the digital divide still exists, between the haves and the have-nots. And it's not just developing countries and undeveloping countries, because they both face similar situations and they vary by different places. We can bridge this disparity with the help of society and the support from those who can bring drastic changes to this inequitable situation, namely the leaders and trusted members of the society. And what I talk to in the book is the will. You know, we have a lot of different resources, and I'm not advocating that they be allocated completely. I'm advocating that we take a look at what we have and how we can distribute it more humanely. It is my hope that the book will help us to better recognize the possibilities and options available for us to bridge the gap of disparity. In the brief time I have left with you, I will share with you the framework and content of the forthcoming book in the hopes that it will give you visions of ways to help evoke change in the global workforce. And when I say you, I'm talking about you as individuals, as I posed in the book. The book is organized into 10 chapters, each serving as a cornerstone for tech-enabled solutions in education specifically. So the first chapter first talks about the infrastructure gap and how to bridge it, because indeed tech-enabled economies will need the infrastructure to build on it. And the first chapter also serves as a call to arms for folks to take a look at the gap, to admit there is a gap, and to look at options to resolve at least some of the gaps in the infrastructure. The chapter 2 goes to curriculum, and this is chiefly important to many of the educators, because curriculum is key in how we address what we're teaching and learning in the classroom. The chapter is a pivotal point in the journey, focusing on the very core of education. It challenges the outdated systems that have long governed the educational system and advocates for a curriculum that is both technology integrated and culturally relevant. And this is important. Just because technology works in one culture or subculture doesn't mean it's culturally relevant in another. So both issues have to be addressed. The chapter serves as a blueprint for modernizing education to meet the needs of the digital age. The next chapter, Innovative Teaching Method, talks about revolutionizing education in the digital era. It serves as a guide. It introduces teaching methods such as the flipped classroom, gamification, and augmented reality. These aren't just buzzwords, but they are being used, and if they are used correctly, they can accelerate some of the teaching and learning in the educational experience that will be needed for forward thinking in the digital economy. The next chapter looks at essential ed tech tools for underserved economies. And the reason I put this here, because every situation will not be able to access every kind of ed tech tool. So we talk about some low-cost solutions that can be used in rural areas, and we talk about some high-impact software solutions that could be used in high-density urban areas, and so that there are different solutions for different areas. Now, the core of the book is the teacher training and professional development. And this is key because technology changes are fast-paced, and we just heard a presentation about slowing down. But it is difficult when we start looking at how the technology is driving the need for workforce development and workforce changes for the educators to keep up. And so this topic is not just talking about our ad hoc and anecdotal professional development. It's talking about including professional development in a systemic and a structural way, so that we will be prepared to empower teachers to effectively utilize technology in the classroom and beyond. And so we've talked so far about the academy, the curriculum, and the instructors. In this chapter, we talk about the community involvement and partnership, and because education is a collective endeavor, and we emphasize here that it explores the synergies between parents, and this is the first time I've talked about parents, but our students come to us through parents, local businesses, the community that they are evolved from, and NGOs, outlining how these different stakeholders can collaborate to create a nurturing educational environment in the local context where they are. The chapter is a guide to building strong community partnerships that can drive educational or improve educational success. And so the next chapter I think is very important because it talks about sustainability and long-term impact. It has been my experience that many of the programs that have been put in place, when you go back 3 years or when you go back 5 years or 10 years, some of those programs, you can't even find the evidence that they existed. So sustainability and long-term impact is key. So this chapter looks at that. It provides a framework for ensuring that tech-enabled educational programs not only launch successfully, but also have a lasting impact or have a probability of a more lasting impact. From financial planning to scalability and impacting measurement, this chapter really addresses that issues. The next chapter, which is the 8th chapter, talks about adult education and lifelong learning. And the reason this is important is because what we are finding is that our students going from K through 12, and that's in the U.S. system, and K through 16, that's getting their undergraduate degrees and their graduate degrees, the system and technology is changing things so fast, they're finding that they need to retool and upskill faster and more than ever before. So lifelong learning becomes more and more important, and putting tools in place to make lifelong learning more effective is going to become more and more important. In chapter 9, data and analysis and analytics have been with us for a while, but what we talk about here is using that data to help inform our decisions about how the technology is changing in education and how we can improve our decisions to improve our education and learning in the system. Chapter 10 is the last chapter, and it talks about policy governance and the role of government, because all the stakeholders that we have talked about so far, the students, the faculty, the parents, the community, all of them are dependent on good government policy actually optimizing the resources that we have so that they are more equitable. And so this is the chapter that talks about sustainability, scaling those educational initiatives and the current policy landscape for future recommendation. So finally, the book culminates in a powerful, I believe is powerful conclusion that synthesizes key insights from each of the chapters, offering actionable steps and a vision for the road ahead. I believe it's a compelling finale that not only summarizes what we've learned, but also galvanizes us to act. You know, as educators, we like to talk a lot, but what we really need to do is to assist the body from the macro level out on how to act more to achieve some of the objectives and the goals that we often talk about. Each chapter is enriched with citations, references, and case studies, empowering the reader to further research and examination. And so the book is not an end, but hopefully a beginning for all of us to become more active in the work of decreasing the amount of poverty in the world. So I hope this time we spent together this morning has inspired you to seek out change in education, as many of us are educators, beyond where we are in workforce development, and that's what I've been talking about, but rather where we need to be, and more importantly, where technology is driving us. As educators, think of the student leaders you are preparing now. Will they be creative, innovative, agile enough to survive and thrive in this brand new world? How can we co-create an environment that produces tech-savvy students who have learned how to learn, or perhaps in peer-to-peer engagement, how to teach each other? It is indeed a brave new world, but it is not technology alone who is the driver. It's the synthesis, I had to slow down, of the creativity and innovation of humanity to create a world that is better not just for the few at the top of the pyramid, and that top of the pyramid has been growing faster and faster, but indeed for the existence of a flatter, more improved society. And I'm going to say this, we have never known that society, but I do believe we have the ability to create it. The future is in our hands to mold, so let us get to work, fired by a vision of human progress and an abiding commitment to advance opportunity, dignity, and freedom in every corner of the world. The technology revolution can either fortify existing patterns of privilege and injustice, or it can emancipate humanity and into a new era of equity and empowerment. The choice is ours. No, the choice is yours. Thank you for your time, for the time with you this morning to share a few words with you.